Hey everyone, thank you for joining me as I break down the good and the bad of season 1 of Sandman, now streaming on Netflix. It's the adaptation of Neil Gaiman's DC Vertigo comic of the same name. They've been trying to get this off the ground for years, but it's been deemed unadaptable, too dense, too confusing, not able for a regular casual audience to get. But they finally got it out. Is it a unwatchable mess or a great adaptation? Let's start with the premise. Humans capture the entity that is responsible for controlling and maintaining our dreams, Morpheus, the Endless, the King of Dreams, or Dream as they call him throughout the show. And after centuries of being locked away in the basement of a mere mortal, once he's let out and finds his way back to his kingdom, he returns to a world in chaos, dreamland, and the waking world that humans live in. Let's start with the good. This is some of the best high fantasy storytelling and most creative high fantasy storytelling that I've seen in a long time. Each episode encompasses a different volume of Neil Gaiman's comic book while telling different stories in each episode. They just have a through line of Dream trying to retrieve his tools that was stolen from him when he was in captivity for those decades and centuries, while also trying to figure out how to fix his kingdom, the dream world, and also the chaos that's happening in the real world while he was gone. Each episode feels like it could be a series on itself. It helps to add to his story arc as this godlike lord of the dreams, that's stoic, unmoving, and doesn't want to feel or have any connection with humankind. And as those walls start to break each episode, as he interacts with humankind in different ways. Each chapter, each episode introduces colorful supporting characters that are well written, complex, and enjoyable to watch on screen. Well, it's the sassy demon slayer Joanna Constantine, the ancestor of John Constantine, one of the favorite characters in the DC universe, or the elegant but conniving Lucifer Morningstar, played by Gwendolyn Christie, who just knocks it out of the role and plays it very different from Tom Ellis in the Lucifer show. They feel like they could be the same character but just in different phases of their life, and I like that there was a difference there because that show is kind of connected to this as well. It's kind of the same character, but each episode and each arc that they have throughout the show introduces characters that I thought were very, very interesting. Either I loved to hate them, or I really, really liked them and felt attached and emotionally attached to them. And there's so many more that I didn't notice. I think that people are going to have their favorites and some people that they absolutely love. But that's not down to downplay Tom Sturridge, who plays the main character in this show, Morpheus, the King of Dreams, or the Endless One. He plays the character with such subtlety. He plays this character with so much present regalness, godlike presence when he steps into a room, but he also shows a human-like vulnerability as the show goes on. And we see that his time in captivity has changed him, because we get to hear from the characters how he was before, and we get to see how he is now. He's softened just a bit, just a little tiny bit, as he was thinking those centuries and centuries. And Tom Sturridge plays this character very great. He made the character arc very clear, and I felt every emotion that he was going through, even though he doesn't emote really well. It was all in the eyes and that quiver in his bottom lip. Just like his acting is subtle, his character arc is very subtle as well. It's the god of dreams, the man who's been ruling for centuries upon millennia, thwarting all people who tried to destroy him, finally being captured, and now coming back, trying to figure out how he's supposed to rule the dreaming world now that things have changed, and how he's supposed to interact with humans and what his purpose is. The show is very gothic, high fantasy. The VFX is done really, really well. The music is chilling, and on a technical level, the show is done really, really, really well. And it's not a lot of fighting scenes or action scenes in the show, but the ones that they do, enable are done really, really well. A standout is one against Lucifer Morningstar versus Dream. I don't want to spoil what happened at all, but it was some of the best stuff that I've seen out of a comic book show. The show juggles many different heavy themes, very masterfully as well. Death, dreaming, your purpose, what it means to be in this world, to be a godlike creature, but be servant to human beings who are flawed, what it means to be a human being, and to that understanding of power, and much more themes in each different episode that we get. And I thought that they did this really well by having these big, crazy themes, these big high fantasy gods who live forever kind of themes, but keeping it grounded with a story of people who are just dysfunctional, gods and human alike, and them dealing with loss, family, and purpose. The world building in the show is absolutely fantastic, with each episode just building upon the next and building upon the next. We're getting to see everything that's within this world for the most part. We go to hell, we go to talk about heaven, we see Cain and Abel, the first victim, the first murderer, and so much more. And episode 4, 5, 6, and I believe 7 and 9 are some of the best episodes of comic book television I've seen, with episode 5 being a standout because it was very creative. It was a standalone story about one of the antagonists of the show, but also they smartly figured out how to reconnect it into the main story and move forward as well. They take their time with the whole 45 to 50 minutes the episodes are and really put as much as they can. And I've got really attached to not only the good guys but also the antagonists as well, because we see that they're just tortured souls for the most part who just wants freedom. Let's talk about the bad. So like I said, there is a lot of world building, there's a lot of concepts, and it is grounded with the story of Morpheus and his family and the human storylines that we get here. But in the beginning, those first couple episodes, they kind of just drop you in this world like you already know what's going on, and they throw a lot of concepts at you, and it can feel daunting at first, especially for those first couple episodes, because there's things that they introduce, they're like, what does that even mean, that they explain later. So don't just give up on the show because it seems complicated. Things are explained, they just don't hold your hand. If you are familiar with the source material, the comic, it helps a lot. But even if you're not, if you're just familiar with different mythologies or biblical things, you will understand a lot of the stuff that's going on in this show. But I still say, even if you're not familiar with any of those things, just give the show some time. But I just think that it can be a turnoff for a lot of people. This one's more of me setting an expectation. There is not a lot of action in this show, especially for something that's a comic book show, adaptation of a DC comic. You expect there to be a lot of fighting. There's not. But the action that is there is done really, really well. This is more about the adventure, the high fantasy, exploring the worlds, the world building, the themes, and seeing all these characters grow and go through the drama, because it is considered a drama series that they're going through in this high fantasy, high stakes adventure. And here goes my verdict. I think that this is one of the best comic book adaptations that we've gotten. It plays it so close to the source material and so faithful. Neil Gaiman himself was attached to this, and he did update and change and modernize certain things, but those changes is things that he said he wanted to do back when he first did the comic, but was not allowed to. The publisher said it might be too queer, it might be too progressive, and people might not hate it. But now that people are more accepting of certain things, he took the time to change it in the show. And I think that the way they presented it, without introducing all the crazy things that are in the comics, makes it more accessible for casual viewers, but you still get a lot of that complex storytelling that people of the book love. So I think this is one of the best shows of the year. I'm definitely excited for season 2. Please, Netflix, don't cancel this on me. And I give this show, the season 1 of this show, an A. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? Comment all your thoughts down below about Sandman. And if you have any questions about this show that you know, if you're not too sure if you wanted to watch it or not, if it's not your certain thing, drop those down below. If you're a fan of the source material, drop those comments down below so we can talk about it. If you're just a fan of the show, I want to talk to people about this show because I think it's so amazing. Drop those comments down below. And if you're a subscriber, hit that like button. And if you're not, subscribe to the channel, because it really helps to build this community and get this channel to more places. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified of my reviews, reactions, and more. And you can watch more of my content right now.